All right. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere. What's going on, guys? Welcome to MOT Today. I'm Luis Acevedo, the founder of MOT Media. Now we're here for MOT Media, MOT Today, that is, with my co-host Mick and James. So, yeah, guys, we have a really, really good one for you today. We're going to give it a little bit here, let some people trickle on in, and then we'll get the show started. So what's going on, guys? What's going on? There's a lot going on in the world. So anything that's popping up in your minds before we jump into the first topics for today?
Gas prices, man.
Yeah.
Gas prices are crazy. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think they're going to keep going up? I think they're going to come down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then go up even more.
I mean, yeah, we'll probably see a lowering in price. I mean, they already have gone down a couple cents where we are. I mean, they were at $4.49. Now they're hovering between like $4.47 and $4.41. I've seen some gas stations, but I do think that we're going to get really, really high gas prices. I really do think that. I think it wouldn't be surprising to see $6 to $10 gas prices across the nation.
Yeah, I'm with that across the nation. I'm saying like around here, we're probably going to get about $6.50.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking. It sucks that they won't open back up the oil fields.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that? So what do you think is causing these high gas prices? There's a lot of debate as to what exactly is causing this. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's just, the green agenda. They're trying to get rid of. They've already made their buck off the oil industry. The new money scheme is the green agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, and they're going to leave all the low stockholders the bag and stuff, and all of the big money's moving to the green agenda,
Yeah, I agree with him that it's pretty much the Democratic Party setting us up to eliminate fossil fuels and eliminate gasoline engines.
I wouldn't even say it's just the Democrats, though. I mean, the Republicans are voting for all this nonsense, too. Like the Ukraine thing, the $40 billion.
Yeah.
All the Republicans were for that, too, pretty much, except Rand Paul.
What does that have to do with the gas prices, though? I know that it's irresponsible spending.
I think the whole Ukraine thing is affecting the gas prices, don't you? I mean, it's throwing everything off balance. It's creating a bunch of fear. People are constantly keeping their gas tank filled, it seems like, because they're worried it's going to go up. It's just like all the other prices of everything was going up. A lot of it was because people were buying the stuff in advance because they're worried that there's going to be this shortage, but we really haven't seen these crazy shortages yet. I mean, we got that baby food thing, which is bullshit, but like,
right,
the shortages haven't came to fruition.
That's actually a really good point, because when I was at the farm today, the owner of the farm, he and I were talking about these baby, well, they're not baby pigs, but they're rodent pig. They're like runts, not rodents, but runts. They're rodent pigs. They're mutated pigs. Shit. South Park is coming to fruition, guys, with the man bear pig. Anyway, so he was telling me that they actually get free produce from the grocery stores. They get a bunch of like free fruits, vegetables, and that's why they're able to keep these runts, because these runts grow a lot slower than the other ones. And he met this pig farmer who gets like 2,000 to 4,000 pigs in one setting, and he doesn't do anything with the runts because they take too long to sell off. He usually feeds them fast, feeds them quick, and then gets them out for like $200, $300. But the runts take months and months and months to get to size. So what he does instead is he gives them to this farmer. They worked out a deal, and he gets these free produce to feed them. And he's like, it works out perfectly for us because we get too much produce and we can feed them to the pigs. My whole point with this is he's saying that the food shortage thing is at least in part total nonsense and scare tactic, because they go to the grocery store and they're getting hundreds of pounds of fruits and vegetables for free and never running out of supply.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't have a shortage problem here in this country, which is crazy. The media was constantly talking about, everybody's talking about it, but it hasn't really came to fruition. It may still happen. I I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that that's a big thing. The supply chain issues is what's causing gas prices to go up, I think, tremendously, as well as regulations. I know that they tried to pass this bill. I actually did a live stream on it during the week, the Consumer Price Gouging Act that the House is trying to pass, which they did pass, but now it has to get past the Senate, which, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Republicans hold a Senate majority. Is that right, or do
The Republicans hold the Senate and the
Democrats hold the House, which we're going to see an
but it's
overhaul.
not that much. It's like a thin,
yeah, we're going to see an overhaul in that in the midterms, though, which isn't uncommon. Before we go on to that, don't think that we're just experiencing this red wave because of how bad Joe Biden is. The reason we're experiencing this red wave is it's like historical. At the first turn, the House turned blue when Trump was in office during the midterms. So this is something that happens almost every presidency. The opposite party controls the houses after the first term. For whatever reason, that just appears to be how it is. Who knows? Maybe the controllers orchestrated it that way. So there's always this polarity that can cause tension in the public. I don't know. Total conspiracy theory, what I just said there. Speculation. Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about with the House passage of the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Act. They are trying to blame it on, now it's shifted. Do you guys remember how they were saying, and they still are saying, that the reason for the oil prices going up is because of Russia?
Yeah.
But now they're saying it's because of big oil is corrupt and they're trying to profiteer off of drivers. And that's how they're trying to pass this bill, which is totally, it could be partially true, right? Could be partially true. I'm not saying that it isn't entirely true. However, it is missing the ball on so many other things, because you have sanctions that have affected supply chains. Like now we're no longer able to get oil from Venezuela. We're no longer able to get oil from Russia or any, that side of the world. And so that's restricting us. In addition to that, you have the regulations where Joe Biden is cutting off these pipelines. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the restriction of digging for more oil. I mean, with this government, it's like you guys were already saying. So this is like a multifaceted issue. And the thing that I thought was pretty like they were gaslighting the Democrats for the oil companies when they were saying they were price gouging, and they were saying the solution is more production. They need to be producing more oil, but they're not producing more oil because they want to drive up the price because of supply and demand. But I think that's kind of like gaslighting, because these oil companies are probably a little concerned about their future, being that there's this huge agenda for green energy.
Yeah.
So why would you keep ramping up production when there's a potential that you're going to put in millions, if not billions of dollars in the drill site, find oil, but then in 3 years they're going to shut it down to where you can no longer become profitable? So what's the incentive to increase production if your industry is in direct threat, is a direct opposition to the government?
Yeah. And that's why I believe that they shut down the pipelines.
Really?
Because they want everybody to get EV cars. They want to do away with gasoline engines. And the prices on gas actually started going up pretty much as soon as Joe Biden shut down the pipelines.
Yeah.
It's just whenever the Russian war started, they just ramped it up, and it just, instead of, 10 cents here and there, it started jumping 20 cents, 30 cents a gallon pretty quickly. So,
yeah, it's pretty wild. And I don't think that we're going to see lower gas prices anytime soon, but I don't necessarily think that we're really feeling inflation either, to be honest with you guys. I know that they may be counterintuitive with the prices of a lot of things going up, but what I think is really causing the prices to go up is supply chain issues. It's not so much inflation, because if you notice, how many more people have excess money, but they're not spending it?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's going to cause deflation, because everybody thinks that inflation comes about when the government prints money. That isn't entirely true. That's part of the equation. The other part of the equation is the velocity of money. So basically, how fast are you spending the money? So they're printing money, and how fast are you spending the money will cause inflation, not just the printing of money. Yeah, you can inflate the money supply, but it doesn't mean that the prices are going to inflate with it if nobody's spending the money. Japan is notorious for doing this. When they go through inflationary periods on the money printer, they ended up just saving more money. and then that causes deflation. So I think what we're actually experiencing is supply chain issues, and then we're going to be facing deflation because I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but Sri Lanka just defaulted on their credit like billions of dollars, and that's going to hurt us because now we can't print any more money, right? Because how do we print money? We print money through debt.
Yeah.
And so if you have these countries defaulting, which Russia is allegedly going to default on their debt, which they already backed their currency with actual commodities, with gold, oil. So they've already shifted the whole paradigm of the economic system. China's doing the same thing. China's getting ready, I think, to back up their currency with gold as well. So
I thought our currency was supposed to be backed by gold already.
171 Nixon changed.
Did away with that, yeah. But people aren't aware that FDR is the first one that started doing away with it. He chipped away with it, I believe. He didn't totally take us off of it, but he started to loosen up the restrictions on gold and money being backed. And then Nixon did away with it entirely, and this is where we get fiat currency.
Yeah. And
that's what we currently have. So the fiat currency is backed by your belief in a military government. I mean, a military power, rather.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka, they're like throwing or pushing or whatever these leaders in their government's cars into rivers and burning their houses down and stuff. I looked it up last night, and I think they said that things were like calming down a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty crazy over there. I wouldn't be surprised if they spiral into insanity and India just like it has an excuse to take them over, or maybe China, because they have a huge port over there that they owe China a bunch of money for. Like China built this huge port in Sri Lanka, and they owe China like billions of dollars. So I wouldn't be surprised if China does something.
Who doesn't owe China billions of dollars these days?
Yeah, I mean, China is consuming all of the world power right now. I think the three big nations that are going to take over the global power structure is going to be China, Russia, and India. And I think that you're going to see China invading Taiwan, and that's going to be the real spark, which, by the way, if you guys have been following anything that I've been doing for any length of time, I've been covering that specific issue for years, literally years. Go back 3-4 years. I've been talking about there's a Cold War between the United States and China for at least 4 years. You can go back on the old YouTube channel, A Better World, and you'll see I was recording videos when we were on vacation in Gatlinburg. And anyway, so yeah, this issue's been going on for a while. It isn't anything new. And I think that is going to be the real spark of, I guess you can say probably World War III, but also it'll wake everybody up to the fact that the United States and the Western powers no longer run the show. China runs the show. They're already taken over. China and India are being really smart in taking over the divested oil plants that are in Russia from Western countries. They're taking them over. They're coming in and partnering up with Russia. And so if you're going to own all of this energy sector, and then all the West wants to go on this green energy, which there is not enough. First off, it's going to be way more expensive to go there. And they just are ineffective. They're not as efficient as oil. This is provable.
Yeah,
I mean, like if you look in what for a little anecdotal, like an anecdotal example of this is in San Francisco, they have these charging ports, but 25% of the charging ports in San Francisco don't work either because they're too short or they just malfunction. So if you're going to have these issues that are going to be spread across the board, and that's another thing that you have to consider is that we're being attacked by ghosts.
Yeah, bro, that something like that happened earlier in the garage too.
Nah.
But then
It's
you
all right.
also have to consider the fact that I forgot where I was going. But anyway, yeah, there's a huge power shift that's taking place right now. And I think it's going to be realized once China invades Taiwan. The Russian war with Ukraine, you know, I don't really think that's that. It's a sort of a big deal, but not really, because they're not going to take over all of Ukraine. Their whole goal the entire time was just to take over the eastern half of Ukraine, which is mostly Russian. Some argue that all Ukrainians are Russian. I don't know.
Now, isn't Taiwan like the world's leading manufacturer of microchips?
Yeah, I think
I think so,
semiconductors. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's why we're probably starting to build more stuff here. Texas Instruments building stuff in Texas. We're building the new IBM thing here in Ohio. I have two things about the oil. If they try to limit the price that they sell gas, like if Biden mandates that it's $2.50 a gallon, I think that a lot of companies are just not going to do it.
Whoa! Back up. He's going to mandate this.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
what's going on?
with this new law, that's basically what it is. It's giving Biden the power to be able to say there's a energy emergency.
Yeah, but I didn't know that there was actually a price limit that they
Yeah.
were talking. Really? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't
so
see that.
if he makes it to like $2.50, for example, a lot of companies are just going to be like, well, we're not going to.
Yeah, if it's not profitable,
it's going to limit the price, and with the price of employment going up, like wages are going up, they're not going to be able to sell gas for $2.50. Right. And also, India's buying a shit ton of oil, and I heard that we're buying a shit ton of oil from India. Like, India's buying a bunch of oil from Russia, and we're buying a bunch of oil from India. So
in effect, we're buying Russian oil.
I'm not really sure what's going on, but
that's what it sounds like.
My main concern here is, isn't this a national security threat? Like, our military is not green energy. Like, we need oil.
No, well, they're talking about making EV electrical. They're talking about making EV military vehicles.
Yeah,
Did you hear about that?
I mean, I haven't heard anything about it, but
Yeah, I'll pull up an article for it really quick.
Yeah, all EV in the military. How long do you think that's going to take for them to make that happen?
Yeah, we're getting all that
years.
Shit from China.
And aren't they claiming that they want all of us?
China's going to revamp our military system.
But don't they want all of us to own EVs by 2030 or something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one. Uber. I was reading something on the Uber Eats thing, and they're like giving you discounts if you drive an electric car, and they'll like. I didn't read it all, but it was. I think they give you like a discount on a car, like a rebate or something too. All this crazy stuff.
Yeah, they try to do a lot of incentives to get people to go green. So right here's the article. It says electric military vehicles are a part of Biden climate agenda. Pentagon says fleets of electric vehicles ready to shoulder the military's workload and slash greenhouse gas emissions. Which, by the way, let's focus on that really quick.
So sailboats, like for the military again, we're gonna go back to the ship.
Right? I mean, yeah, that's renewable energy, right?
And horses,
right? Yeah.
With the shield.
But this whole like get rid of carbon is very insidious, and I don't think people realize why it is. We're a carbon-based life. Life is carbon-based.
Yeah.
So if you want zero carbon, you want zero life.
Yeah. Well, nobody talks about all the
very,
plastic
very,
pollution.
very evil.
All this pollution they talk about is invisible. You can't see it. They don't talk about all the actual plastic pollution in the ocean as much.
Yeah.
It's really strange to me. But they always talk about this invisible pollution you can't see. But what about, they don't talk about the islands of plastic trash and the amount of waste we make and the landfills that are overflowing, all the strip mining to make this electric shit and just everything. It's not even, I'm not hating on the green agenda. I mean, even before the green agenda, look at all the shit we've made that is destroying the planet. But they don't talk about that shit. It's this invisible green, it's this invisible ozone enemy that they want to talk about. It's really strange to me.
They've been working for years to curb the pollution that you're talking about, that you can physically see. They're making like biodegradable freaking cups, just like that rule or whatever that they came out with cardboard straws instead of plastic straws.
Although I see all kinds of plastic straws.
I see a bunch of, and it's also kind of ironic. They'll give you a paper straw with a plastic cup.
Yeah.
So
we're way behind on it. It's a problem.
Well, there's a lot that you can do with plastic. So, for example, in Europe, what they're doing in some countries is they're actually using it to make roads. And it's making road repair a lot easier because as opposed to like doing what they do here, where you have asphalt and then I don't know exactly how they patch it up, but they put shit in it to patch it up. It's horrible, right? Because then the potholes come back next summer after the winter's already come. But what they actually do in certain countries is they'll replace sections of the road with other blocks of plastic that are, effectively asphalt and, whatever the road needs to be in order to drive on. They have thousands of miles of this. I think they have some in Australia as well, but it's primarily in Europe. And so there's a lot that can be done with plastic. I don't necessarily know that plastic's a bad thing. It could be. And I'm not saying that we're not destroying our planet. I mean, hell, just driving a car is definitely not good for the environment. It's definitely not good to breathe in. But the way our world is structured, you kind of have to own a car to get to your job because your job is no longer in the city town. It's like 4 cities over.
Yeah.
You got to drive. And the only reason that you're getting there in 20 minutes is because of the highway. But if there was no highway and there were only back roads and dirt roads, it's going to take you an hour to get to work.
Yeah.
So, we kind of,
the world's structured.
Horses and trains, man. We got to get back to horses and trains.
yeah, the only way to do that, though, is if you restructure the entire industry, like every industry sector, into saying that, okay, we're going to go back to more of a town village type lifestyle, which most people I don't think would be okay with. But I think that's a whole other topic, but I don't know.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to do that overnight anyway.
Well,
No.
you can't just force that onto people, but yeah, I mean, you might start seeing that. You might, if
For
things
sure.
get bad, if the auto industry collapses.
It won't.
Yeah.
But I think that you will start seeing people making their own societies where it's something similar to that. I think you're already witnessing it.
So you don't think it's going to collapse? So, well, the thing
No.
that we're going to be talking about here soon, I mean, couldn't that make it collapse?
The monkeypox. The monkeypox can make it collapse. No, I don't think so. I think it's just another scare tactic. I think it's going to be another test run to cull people in, to get people to take more jabs, more drugs, weaken your immune system, make you weaker, make you more dependent on the system, maybe start implementing some digital IDs in order to show that you've been properly medicated, if you guys catch my drift. And, you can get certain foods that way. I think that's going to be more so the push with it. I'm not really concerned about death toll or anything like that because, my opinion when it comes to, I don't know if I can actually say the word, but V's, things that are allegedly contagious, virus, maybe the algorithm can't spell. It's kind of weird that you can spell these things out, but the algorithm and the AI won't pick that up. Anyway, I don't tend to believe that they're contagious because they're dead. So it's illogical to think that they can be contagious if they're dead. And the way that they exist is through other cells. And those cells that they're growing from are actually needing detox. So the V's that are being created are unique to your cells for detoxification. This has actually been known for a very long time, but mainstream medicine has it all backwards because we go off germ theory. That doesn't mean that all of germ theory is bad. Basically, germ theory means that germs are contagious. You can pass them on to one another. And so that's not necessarily completely false because bacteria is alive, fungi is alive, parasites are alive. So you can definitely pass sickness on to each other on a germ level. But when it comes to V's specifically, it's actually illogical that you could pass them on from a germ level. How they can be passed on and how they are contagious is analogous to like a yawn, right? It's very similar to a yawn or a smile. How a yawn and a smile can be contagious. Same thing with somebody who may have a virus. It's contagious in that way, that you have a sympathetic reaction for it. So if somebody you're really close with, they become sick, they have a cold that isn't necessarily contagious because it's a V, well, you then can maybe start getting a little sniffle, getting a little cough because of a sympathetic reaction to it. Similar, like I said, to a yawn or a smile. There's actually a lot of research done on this, and that's more so terrain theory. That falls in line with terrain theory, which, it's your environment is what dictates your immune system. But I think it's a combination of both. In my opinion, I don't think one's wholeheartedly right and the other one's wholeheartedly wrong. I think it's a combination of both. But when we're talking specifically about V's, I don't think they're contagious at all. I think that it's all sympathetic reaction on how people feel that they contracted similar sicknesses. And also specifically with V's, you'll always see different symptoms amongst people. You'll never see a one unified symptom. So that's right there just shows you it can't actually be contagious. Like, it's just illogical. But yeah, so I think this whole monkeypox thing is really just going to call in more people to be more obedient, to listen, and just break people's spirits. I think that's really where we're at. And that's why you have to remain strong and your position, like, don't cave to the nonsense, not even one bit. I think it's very important for men at this point to stand up, because who stops a tyrannical government? Not women and children. Men do. Men stand up and say, we had too much.
Yeah.
We've had too much of this shit. Men are on the front lines during revolutions, during rebellions. I'm not saying we should start a revolution, because also that's a little weird to start a revolution because what is a revolution? A complete 360. So you end up right where you were, and it just doesn't make sense. So what I am saying, though, is have to be strong against these mandates and don't be fear-driven. Like you already see New York City is implementing mask mandates again because of the monkeypox.
Yep.
You see Belgium implementing quarantines because of the monkeypox.
Yeah.
So civil disobedience in a lawful way is very important, especially for men. Like, don't wear the mask. Don't support places that will try to force you to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I know this may be hard, and I'm not encouraging people to lose their jobs or anything like that, but you even have to draw a line. Like, I did. I lost my job over the whole vid nonsense because I refused to wear a mask. I refused to get my temperature checked. I refused. Now I'm in a much better position than I was in before that. But you have to draw a line. You have to draw a line to stand, and men have to stand their ground. So, yes, there's going to be more insanity coming from this, I think, but it's our responsibility as men to keep it from trickling down to our families.
Yep.
And keep it from our communities in whatever way you can.
Yeah, they're trying to control us, I believe, with all the mandates and stuff, seeing how far that they can actually push us before us as a people do, stand up and say something like what you're saying. Don't support businesses that, want to make it a mandate to where you have to wear masks. Me personally, if I go to, say, a fast food restaurant and it says, mask, well, before, whenever everything was going on, if you had to wear a mask in there, I wouldn't go in, or a grocery store.
Yeah.
I'd turn around and walk away. I'll take my business somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we did too. I mean, we found a bunch of local butchers. That's how it was actually a blessing for us because we started really localizing our supply chain, which is what really, I've heard the idea before, but it really crystallized for me once we were experiencing these lockdowns and mandates during the whole unicorn thing, how important it is to localize your supply chain. It's just so important. Like the farmer that I was talking with, he was like, yeah, I never wore a mask. Never wore a mask during the whole thing. He was like, I just refused. I never even tried one on. It's like, my dude, the guy's like 60, 70 years old. Badass.
You gotta be badass to own a farm. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just trying to drown out the monkey stuff. I haven't looked into it too much. I saw some of the blisters and some pictures, and I'm like, that sucks. Like, I don't know.
Well, some people are saying that it's a reaction to those who got.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't, like I said, I haven't looked into it. I try to ignore.
And only people who have actually gotten, the thing are getting this.
Yeah, from what I read, they're like, it's been around for a while. But it went away for like 40 years. There was no positive cases until 2017. But now it's starting to spread even more. And I thought, from what I read, the only way that you could contract it is by like pretty much kissing somebody.
Like a monkey?
No.
Well, physical touch and like droplets.
Does it have to be a monkey that you touch?
No, actually, ironically enough, it isn't from monkeys. They think it's from rodents. The reason they gave it the monkeypox name is because it was first discovered, which is a very interesting story. It was first discovered in a lab in Denmark with colonies of monkeys in 1958. But then the first known case for humans, which is a whole other thing. Like you cannot contract these from animal to human. It's impossible. The only way they can do it is through inoculations, i.e. getting jabbed. It's the only way you can contract any sort of animal virus into a human. It's impossible. It's the only way. They all are artificial. Swine flu, bullcrap. Nobody got it. Bird flu, bullcrap. No human gets it. Monkeypox, bullcrap. Nobody gets it. It's nonsense. And just like unicorn, and just like unicorn allegedly came from a bat, but then they changed it to being a bioterrorist attack or a bio lab hazard in China. Which is what they're trying to say with the monkeypox thing too, is that it's a bio attack from Russia. And you have African doctors that are saying they're baffled because it's nowhere in Africa, but it originates in Africa. but it's all over these Western countries. So that's why a lot of people are speculating that it's a bioweapon from Russia. I personally think it's a bunch of nonsense. I think it's adverse reactions to what people got for the unicorn.
I agree with that one.
I think there's a lot more going on in the Russia thing than we see.
Like?
I don't know. It's really weird. Like, look up. I haven't been hearing much about it lately, but it's just like the way the media portrays what's going on in Russia, and what we're seeing. Like, I got a strange feeling there's something else going on that we're not really seeing.
Well, do you believe that Ukraine really got all of that $32 billion?
There's $40 billion.
Well, do you think Ukraine got all of it?
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, where do you think the money's going?
Well, I think there actually is.
Or is it not even? They're not even really transferring money. It's all just a mine.
No. Well, I think that they need to print more money. It's an excuse to print more money because we're going to go in deflation, and so people are defaulting on their credit. You need an excuse to print more money. That's arguably why they collapsed the Twin Towers. Was to get money. Was to start a war to get money.
So let's see. You don't think that people are getting kickbacks and stuff like that from these big?
Because the money's got to go somewhere, right? What do you mean they got? What are they going to print the money for, though?
War. You just get an excuse to print money.
War.
Yeah. You just get an excuse.
So buy the war stocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not financial advice.
Financial advice. Talk about Genus while he looks up his thing, James.
Oh.
Where's your dolls?
They're right over there.
Go get them.
What is Genus?
No, Nick. This is not financial advice. Genus is like they make kids cartoons, and it's like a penny stock. I actually haven't even seen these things.
I don't have my certificate.
Oh man, and they have like Arnold Schwarzenegger on there, Warren Buffett. They just got the rights to Stan Lee's stuff that he never released, and like just the rights to create stuff about him.
Yeah, some big news just happened with Genius. They create the Rainbow Rangers. They have an app that's out, a free app.
This is made by Fisher Price. Let me see it.
Yeah, called the Cartoon Channel. So Genius over the past couple of years,
I should have bought it.
they've actually over the past couple of years, they've actually purchased a movie production company, a couple other kid-friendly companies like POW, and they just got one called E Squared, I believe. Last week, they just had pretty big news that they sold rights to Disney to use Stan Lee's likeness for rides and merchandise and stuff for the next 20 years. They licensed that out to Disney.
Yeah, a lot of catalysts going on with that company. I like it. Not financial advice. Hey, what's going on with the crypto markets? Why are they down so much? What the hell's going on? Is it just random or is there some kind of news stories?
A lot of times when you see a big market crash like this, I don't know if there's any big. Well, yeah, there is some big news stories, like some stable coins are losing their pegs to the dollar or whatever else they're pegged to. And so that's causing some huge issues. Like
I heard something about the Luna.
Luna collapsed.
I thought that was like a well-established. The platform that you bought it through, wasn't that like a somewhat reputable?
I don't know much about Luna, but I think it was pegged to a stable coin, which stable coin was trying to be pegged to Bitcoin, which is very stupid. If I know if I understand that correctly. But anyway, yeah, it's insane. It's blood in the market. So, definitely, if you're going to buy, I would look into do your own research, not financial advice. Maybe not the best time to buy right now because I think the market's going to keep going down. But I think a big reason why you see these big sell-offs, a lot of times whales are just making plays. Yeah. Whales have cashed out. They see that all the demand is kind of dwindling away. And so they're like, well, it's time to cash out, take my profits, and then buy back up once everybody freaks out, because that's how retail investors do. Retail investors buy high and sell low, while the smart people buy low and sell high. So it's very hard to do that emotionally. And that's what I think we're witnessing right now. I think that you're going to see Bitcoin go down to somewhere near 11K because that's historically what it does. It drops about 85%. 85% decrease from 67,000 is about 11K. Ethereum usually drops around 90%. So you're going to be getting Ethereum for a few $100. So, I think there's going to be blood on the street for a while. Hex is down quite a bit right now as well. Good time maybe to buy Hex. Some people speculate still. So you may be right in waiting. I don't know. I usually don't try to time the market, especially in crypto, because it's total nonsense. Like, it's better to just buy, do a dollar cost average.
There's less history.
Yeah.
Well, historically, if you do look at the charts, like he was saying, there's pops, every couple of years.
So it's just better to it's just better to hold it over a long period of time than as opposed to time the market.
Well, people say that Bitcoin is supposedly a hedge against inflation, just like gold.
It's a better hedge against inflation. Yeah. I mean, it's Bitcoin, yeah.
Really?
Bitcoin is a better hedge inflation.
Everybody refers to the chart of the last 10 years, but if you look back at the chart,
if you look 40 years ago at gold has been stagnant. It has not done anything with inflation. You have to go back like almost 100 years in order to see any kind of movement on gold, positive movement on gold. You've been better holding dollars than you have gold over the past like 20 years.
Well, I heard if you bought back in the 70s or something, it was in between maybe in between 10 and 40, you could pick your charts, but in between 10 and 40 that it has outperformed the stock market in general.
Maybe if it's in the 70s, it has to be longer than 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's longer than our lifetime to see any kind of movement on it. So it's not even, in my opinion, I mean, yes, gold does have real value. So on a monetary sense,
if you're talking about
it's going to fluctuate.
China's
but then that's not necessarily a good thing either if you have gold becoming a standard, because then they're going to set the price of gold.
Well, the different countries together will have to come up with an agreement. There will be like an
average.
What's wrong with that?
Well, then it's no longer really, a good thing to hold in mind. I mean, especially, so let's get this straight. So, I mean, if you want to try to preserve your wealth, technically gold can do that in a way. However, it's not really doing it right now. It hasn't done it in 40 years. Hasn't done it longer than all of us.
Well, you haven't lost money, but it's preserved.
I have. I lost money in gold. A lot of people have lost money in gold.
It's because you sold, like you were just saying.
And I still would be in negative. That's how long. I'm glad I got rid of my gold position.
But it's only been a year, right? Or 2
It's been longer than a year now. So I've been out of gold for longer than a year, and it's still negative to when I got in.
Well, a year's not that much time.
It isn't. But when you have a market that's like crypto, a year is a very long time.
Well, if you would have bought most cryptos a year ago, you'd be losing your ass right now. Way more than gold.
No, if you would have bought most cryptos a year ago, you'd be up a little bit. And then, I mean, if you didn't sell, if you sold
a year ago from now, wasn't Bitcoin like $40,000-$50,000 or something crazy?
Yeah, and then it went up to 67. So you'd be in profit for a little bit if you sold at the right time.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like right now, it's doing worse than gold. Gold's like holding more steady than.
But Bitcoin is doing better than gold in general.
Yeah, if you would have bought it, way back then.
It doesn't really. I mean, the Bitcoin is actually a hedge against inflation.
Well, then why is it down? That's my thing.
What do you mean? It's up against the dollar. It's up against gold. If you have your money in Bitcoin, your money is better preserved than it is in gold on a monetary level. So I will say that
it's not up against gold. Gold is holding up better than crypto right now. Like, it's not down nearly as much.
But what he's saying is that
cryptos are all down like 25, 40.
But look at the monetary value of Bitcoin compared to the monetary value of gold. The monetary value of gold does not match inflation at all. The monetary value
I'm not saying
Bitcoin,
that it's a hedge against inflation. I'm saying people say gold is a hedge against inflation. People say Bitcoin's a hedge against inflation, and they're both not doing well in inflationary times.
Bitcoin is, though. But Bitcoin's doing very well in inflationary times. I'm not a big Bitcoin fan.
It's down like 40%, though.
Because we're in a bear market.
So it's not doing well. And then
the
gold's
best
not down 40%.
The best assets to be in are in any kind of asset is really good to hold during an inflationary period. Being in the stock market is really good in an inflationary period because stock prices go up. But now you're going to say stocks aren't doing good in inflation because we're in a 20% drop in a bear market in the S&P 500. No, stocks are way better to be in than to hold cash and to hold gold. Bitcoin is a better hedge against inflation. Yes, it's down. We're in a bear market.
I don't know. I feel like cash is better to hold.
Not an inflationary period. You're losing your money.
Well, right now, when these stocks are down 25-40%, or crypto's down 25-40%, you still have the same amount of cash. You can buy it for cheaper.
I agree.
So, cash is,
there's nothing wrong with holding.
And all I'm saying is both gold and Bitcoin or crypto is supposed to be a hedge against inflation, but they're both down a lot, and crypto's down even more than gold. I'm just ranking them.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe cash is actually the best thing to hold because cash isn't dropping nearly as far.
No, you're
in
right.
Value as the other assets.
You're absolutely right. I don't disagree with you there at all. I don't. I think it's very smart to have a lot of cash on hand in these periods. So that
then
way,
you can buy at these
exactly,
low prices.
Exactly. I think it's very smart for people to do that. Not financial advice, by the way. But that's, what I did at the last bear market. I had a lot of cash on hand. That's how I'm able to have such strong positions in a lot of cryptos at the moment. But yeah, so I think right now we're just experiencing a bear market. It's very typical. But then Bitcoin's going to go way higher. Ethereum's going to go way higher. I'm very excited for the launch of Pulse Chain. I think Pulse Chain will launch during
right?
We'll see.
They said mid.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's technology and software takes a long time.
I was joking with you last time. Like they keep pushing it back, but that's how everything is.
Exactly, and it's only been a year. It's only been 1 year since the announcement of Pulse Chain being developed. For those who are unaware of what Pulse Chain is, if you know what Ethereum is a blockchain in which you can build smart contracts. Smart contracts are basically these digital contracts that you do one transaction, it then does another transaction. So it's essentially just a digital contract that's automated within the code. So Pulse Chain, what it's going to do is copy everything on Ethereum, put it on a new blockchain that's much faster, has much more space, and everything's cheaper. Because that's one of the big issues right now with Ethereum is the gas fees. You have to pay these absurd gas fees to make a $20 transaction. You want to send $20, you got to pay $10 in gas. Ridiculous. You want to swap from one coin to another, you want to swap $50 from USDC into Hex, guess what? You got to pay actually $150 just to do that transaction.
It's like real gas fees almost driving to the bank or something to do a transaction.
Yeah, right. So, it's pretty insane. So Pulse Chain is lowering these gas fees
will be
about 10,000.
Not yet.
About 10,000 times, actually. Like about 10,000 times it is lowering the gas fees on Ethereum. And so Pulse Chain is going to be launching during a bear market. So I'm anticipating to get pretty rich during the bear market because I think it's going to be a very incredible coin, being that you get all your coins on Pulse Chain that were built on Ethereum, all your NFTs, all your smart contracts.
Well, I remember last time we were talking about this, I'm like, how the hell is that legal? Like, they're just copying everybody's stuff and putting it on their own. And wouldn't that be some type of...
They have their own proprietary code in there as well to improve it.
But yeah, like if you're an artist, like how does that work with NFTs? You were saying it works with NFTs. Yeah. They're just copying that.
So it really depends on what you consider the NFT. Is the NFT the code? Is the NFT the server?
I don't know.
Exactly.
A limited amount of tokens.
Exactly.
Right? So
who
they're
really
copying tokens is basically what they're saying.
Yeah, but they have no monetary value initially.
Yeah, so it's like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's improving Ethereum. It's actually going to be helping Ethereum.
I think it'll be most interesting to see what the government does with crypto. There's going to be a lot of changes in that.
Well, I think what you're going to see with crypto is, you're basically with the government, you're going to see them create their own digital currency. You had the mayor of Miami try to do that with the Miami coin, which the Miami coin is wrecked. But anyway, I think that's what you're going to have. I think you're going to start seeing city-states pop up along with the smart cities. So smart cities will facilitate the change to city-states, and then cryptocurrencies will allow there to be an economic structure within city-states. So city-states will be able to come up with their own coin.
So I need to buy a bunch of Miami coin, and then
when
it explodes, you said it's wrecked. Was it down like 75%?
I don't know what Miami.
Dang, that might be a good strategy to get some beachfront property, bro.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the MOT headquarters.
Yeah, right. But then climate change. Remember, you got to be careful with that.
make a yacht, get a yacht or something. That could be the headquarters. Like,
Yeah.
So $6 billion, getting back to that whole $40 billion thing for the Ukraine, $6 billion of that would be used to allow the administration to buy weapons from contractors and then provide the weapons to Ukraine. $9 billion will be used to restock U.S. equipment that has been sent to Ukraine. $3.9 billion of that would be used for the European command operations, which includes mission support, intelligence support, hardship pay for troops deployed to the region, and equipment, including Patriot battery. What else? $900 million. $900 million will go to refugee assistance. So basically to fund more immigration.
Yep.
$54 billion for medical health, for public and medical health support. What else? $100 million security package for Ukraine. Yeah, so I mean, just a bunch of nonsense. Just a bunch of nonsense. But it's an excuse to spend more money. It's an excuse to print more money, and that's the big thing.
They want to keep us in poverty. They don't want to actually improve things. They want to like make it so that inflation goes up. They want to keep both parents at work. They want to,
Well, they want to program people to think that, but it's very doable to live with one person's income. You just have to either work harder and work smarter, find ways to make money. I mean, it's not very hard to make money these days. It really isn't. If you're struggling making money these days, you ain't trying. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you ain't trying. I mean, we were just taught, like you do some very interesting stuff with paintings. That's really cool, man. Like, that's a good profit right there. You can go to thrift stores, flip stuff all the time. Go to garage sales, flip stuff. You can do DoorDash. You can do Uber Eats. You can get on this other app that's called TaskRabbit, where you're essentially your own contractor. People can hire you to do your shit.
That's just what I'm just saying that's what the establishment wants. It seems like they want to keep people.
They do.
They want to keep the traditional family setup, make it not a thing anymore.
100%. That's the programming. And women are being shamed for being stay-at-home moms. People are being shamed for homeschooling their kids. It's insane. It's insane. So that's why another role as the man is to make sure because let me preface with this. We are all programmed. We're all programmed. Whether or not you want to think you're not an NPC, we're all an NPC on some level. If you're aware enough to realize that, you get what I'm saying. We're all there, right? And so the role as a father, as a husband, as a leader of a household is to program your family stronger, have a stronger program in your family than society's programming. That's the role of a man.
Yep.
Like, you got to be the king of your castle, program your kids to be the way you want them to be. It sounds insane in this day and age because everybody's like, I want my kids to do whatever they want to do. That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you need to set them on the right course. You need to set them on the right path. You need to set the framework for them. And that's what the programming is. It's the framework in which you're going to operate within. Yeah. And so that's the role as the man, and they're trying to effeminate. They're feminizing men all over the place with soy, with this get in touch with your feelings nonsense. Not to say it isn't good for you to cry sometimes, but God damn it, I don't want to talk to my wife about my emotional problems all the time. Like, it's known, like, men just kind of deal with that shit on their own. I think it is what it is. Like, we find other ways
to deal with it.
Yeah,
on your own, or you're doomed.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole thing where it's like, oh, you need somebody to talk to. Don't get me wrong. I talk to my wife about some of my hardships.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with talking to people about your problems.
But, like, as a man, the reason society looks down on you is actually a good thing because they don't want weak men. Like, if you're just going to be sitting there complaining about your woes. It's like, no, if you're a man and you have problems, maybe talk about those problems with other men and try to figure out a solution. But don't sit there and try to cry about your problems and just do nothing about it. And I think that that's what they're trying to promote in men, especially in young men. And I think it's very detrimental. And I think that's the key reason why our society is collapsing is because of this attack on men. And then women just go freaking insane because they have no leadership. Whether you guys like that or not, like, men lead, women follow their man. Like, I'm sure we all know this. Like, anybody who's had a girlfriend, anybody who's had any kind of relationship knows the girl starts to kind of mimic the guy's behavior, whether they want to wear their sweaters, whether they want to watch what he wants to watch. Maybe your wife's like to watch sports because you like to watch sports and something you're really interested in, or they like to do whatever. Like, it's just nature. It's just how it freaking works. Because you're the provider, you're the one that protects, and so they love you for those reasons. And so then if you just attack the men and you feminize them, you can then take over a society, and that's where we're at.
I believe that. They're trying to make our country weak.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where we're at. And that goes into what you're programming, like get rid of the traditional family. Like, now it's becoming acceptable to be a single mother. No, you failed. Like, that's a failure to be a single mother. And I know that there's some exceptions, like you're a widower, right? Your husband died, and yes, totally makes sense. You want to honor him. You don't want to be with anybody else. I can respect that. But a lot of times it's your mistake. You end up as a single mother. Like, you picked the wrong guy.
Majority of the time.
Yeah, like, that's the issue. So this shouldn't be popularized either. It's not a good thing to be a single parent. It's a failure if you're a single parent. If you have nobody else in your life to help.
Yeah, you need structure.
Yeah,
your children need structure.
Exactly. So, this attack on traditional family is huge. And I think that what we're seeing right now in the political world is a huge example of that. We're just dividing men and women against each other, I think, a lot. And what you then have is women becoming more masculine, and masculine in ways that, like, I don't know. It's just, it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. And there is an attack on the traditional family, but this has been going on for a long time too. You have to realize that the attack on the traditional family can only happen if they attack the extended family first. You'd have to attack the whole family. So extract the roots from the family. Your grandparents, great-grandparents. Back in the day, everybody knew their great-grandparents. Everybody knew their grandparents. Everybody knew their aunts, uncles, cousins. They were all close in some way. But now that isn't the case. Now we decide to live in neighborhoods and choose to live with strangers, but we think it's weird if our mom lives next door or our grandma lives next door.
Well, everything's so fragmented now. I mean, now people grow up in neighborhoods, and it's not a huge, giant chunk of land that your family owns.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to build from scratch and obtain wealth so that you can purchase a chunk of farmland and recreate your family, because the families are so fragmented. It's not like it used to be.
But the messed up thing is like, you try to get your family to, like, say, hey, if we all pull our resources in together, we could definitely afford it. I don't need to get wealthy.
Yeah.
Well,
their whole life they've been raised to think that, this is the way it is.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be independent. Like, my goal for my family is to make sure we all have a piece of land that we own and that we can grow on. Like,
everybody's independent until they need someone to wipe their ass because they're fucking
exactly
90 years
That's
old.
A great point. That's a great point, dude. That's a great point. That brings you back to reality. It's like, you're independent until you're old and feeble and you can't take care of yourself. Yeah. No, you're never independent. Like, I am totally with the Chinese culture when it comes to family. Like, it's very communal thinking. I think that's how it should be for families. Here in the U.S., I love the individuality, especially when it comes to, like, a government structure, that kind of level. Like, yeah, give me my freedom. But when it comes to, like, pulling resources together, I think that we should be more communal, but with our families. I don't agree with the government pulling all of our money together and then saying, let's do this. Yeah. But your family, I'm totally with that. I think that's where strength is. Like, just imagine this. Just imagine, my wife and I have talked about this before. Just imagine how much your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins all bring in a year, even if it's just $20K, $30K. But you get 10 of them, and they're all just making $20K. What's that? $200,000 now that you guys are making a year in accounts. Like, that's how wealth and power is made. A lot of Eastern families, Middle Eastern families too, do that. Right? They'll pull their resources together. They'll live in the same house with their brothers, sisters, cousins. 20 people living in a house. The house is big enough to suit everybody's needs, though, in their own little private quarters, whatever. But they're all pulling their money together and their resources together, and they're stronger for it.
Yeah.
That's what I think should be the move. That's what I think the future is. That's what I'm trying to do with my family. I want to have a huge family. Right now I have 3 girls. Awesome. Beautiful. One's on the way. The third one's on the way. So I'm going to, hopefully they're going to get, good husbands. That way we can still, that's my goal. I want to pull all of my family's resources together, regardless on how successful I become in crypto and any business ventures that we have here in MOT. I still want us to be able to pull our resources together. I think that's the most powerful thing to do. I really do. Because then you're not dependent in any way on the structure, on the system. In some ways you are. I can't say in any way, but you are less dependent and you're more powerful. It makes your family more powerful too, I think. And that's the way it's supposed to be. You have your own kingdom.
As long as you have your digital ID.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
So that's a whole nother topic. So in Iran, I'll share it for you guys on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. We'll find a ways to share it for everybody else here. TikTok, Facebook. Don't even know if anybody's on Facebook. People keep trickling in and out of TikTok. Then we have a consistent viewership on everywhere else. Let's see here. I don't know. What were your guys' thoughts on what I just said before we...
Yeah, James, what do you think about families? You family man?
Oh, shit. If I had to live with my brothers and shit, I don't know. Somebody end up getting jacked up.
He's probably watching.
That's all right. He knows it's true too. I mean, we could live on the same piece of land and everything, but it's gotta be
a big piece of land.
Yeah, we gotta be
everything's so fragmented. The properties you'd have to buy all these different. And the problem is there's a house on every chunk of property. Everything they built houses so close to. Everywhere. There's just all these houses so close to each other.
And there's a bunch of strangers.
It's you can't to get back to the way we were, you'd have to buy all this land, destroy all these houses. And
there's so much empty land.
Yeah,
I'm just saying around here or in other places where it's more clustered.
Or your family just has a takeover of the neighborhood.
Well, that's true. And then they would just have their own house.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is because all these houses are on there, you can't just buy a huge chunk of land. It's more expensive because then there's already a house there. You have to buy
the land and the house.
There's the houses. Society has built these houses so close together to a point to where it's hard to revert back to that.
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of empty land.
Well, there is.
And I think that there's a lot of.
You know what I'm saying? What they've done.
Well, there's a lot of affordable houses right now that sit on 20 acres of land. You're talking $200,000-$300,000.
But that's an uproot and move. But what I'm saying is if you wanted to just buy in a specific area, there's so many houses. There's not these huge chunks of land. They've clustered all these houses so close.
Well, I have the solution. You just come up with your own government and then you enforce eminent domain.
Like gangs or something.
Well, you know how the government just buys land? They can just say, hey, you got to get out of here. They did that to my uncle. My uncle owned this big old pond, a lot of property, a lot of acres, probably, I don't know, maybe 50 acres, something like that, maybe 100 acres. I don't know. But they wanted to build a highway through there. And so they ended up just buying the land from them. We used to have our family reunions on my mom's side over there all the time, but that sold. And I think now it's a highway. It's an overpass.
Dang. That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Sorry if you're watching, Tony and Johnny.
But so switch it up a little bit here. There is some interesting stuff going in Iran. So Iran has very high food prices right now. So let's first look at that. So, there's a freaking ant. Or what is that?
Where'd it go?
I don't know. It's right here. No, it's on me.
Put him on the camera.
I think I killed it. Nope, it's right there.
He's down here, James. Help him.
Are you guys some sissies?
I thought I killed it.
No, he's half crippled. I'm going to go to the restroom real quick. There's one right here.
All right, so let's look at that. Iran food prices.
Yeah, I tried to look into this digital ID thing, and I couldn't really find too much about it. But I am interested.
Yeah, so first off, food prices are going through the roof in Iran. So right here, Iran becomes the first nation to implement biometric food IDs for rationing amidst food riots and internet shutdowns. So I'll go ahead and read this article for the people that are just listening and are watching, but you can't see the article here. So it says Iran has laid out the framework as to how this may be implemented in other nations to come. The infamous food and rationing IDs have now arrived, with Iran becoming the first nation in the world to launch biometric passports that permit citizens to buy food and other goods. Flying under the radar, 1 week ago, Iranian President, however the hell you pronounce his name, announced the nation will prune bread subsidies as commodity prices continue to soar. The Financial Times wrote, quote, the government will offer citizens digital coupons that will allow them to access a limited amount of bread at subsidized prices, while the rest will be available at market price, or market rates rather. The bread scheme will come into force in about 2 months. The scheme will later include other goods such as chicken, cheese, and vegetable oil, officials have said. In other words, you can buy as much bread and goods as you want while it's still available, if it's available, but if Iranians want the bankroll and reduce prices on these limited goods, then civilians will have to get a new ID and accept these coupons. In October 2021, Iran in Focus wrote, with the state of the economy in Iran, it is no wonder that more and more people have fallen into poverty in the past few years, with more than 80% of Iranians living under the poverty line. As a result, the middle class has but all disappeared as the poverty line has risen. Moreover, the outlet also notes the estimated 85 million people living in Iran, 19 million Iranians have been forced into the slums. A quarter of Iranian youth are currently unemployed. 75% of economic capabilities have been lost by workers. Shockingly, up to 1,000 children under the age of 3 are abandoned on a yearly basis as their parents cannot afford to raise them. The article also said, most worryingly, the most worrying consequence of the widespread poverty in Iran is that more and more people are willingly selling their organs, to make such needed money. So selling a kidney, I mean, you can live with just one kidney, I suppose.
So do they have to have a digital ID on their phone?
Wow. So it says even with some mothers, even selling their unborn babies to make ends meet. Interesting.
So do you have to have it on your phone or what?
I don't know. So I'm assuming you'd have to have
it on
some
the blockchain?
I mean, eventually that's what they want it to be on. Yeah, for sure. And some blockchain. But yeah, so it looks like it's a digital coupon that you would have to have on a phone in order to access some sort of digital device, some sort of internet accessing device.
Now, does that coupon give you like cheaper pricing than?
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounded like to me too.
Because it gives you subsidized prices. Well,
is
the
this
rest
like
will
a
be
new
available.
Thing? They don't have like e-coupons in Iran. This is why it's breaking news, or what?
Well, no, it's allowing you to get cheaper prices for food.
Just because it's a coupon.
Yeah, and so if you don't have it, then you get market rates, and market rates are ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's like if I have an e-coupon at Target.
But if the supply's down, then you can't get it.
Then you're also getting first dibs too.
Yeah, only the people that have the digital ID.
The coupon?
I don't know. The government says it offers digital coupons. I don't know. I don't know if we can even find it on Google.
So why is this a problem? I mean, they do e-coupons everywhere. Like if I want to go to BJ's and buy some stuff, I have an app. I can like scan the coupons and get shit cheaper than somebody who doesn't scan it. Like, how is this different than?
Well, that's what we got to figure out. Is how
is this a scandal? How is this a scandal? Because right now it just sounds like the government's giving people coupons if they have a phone.
No, there's got to be some.
Which actually that is kind of messed up because in those countries less people probably have phones. So it's like the more rich people.
Well, it's a food rationing and it's based on it's a biometric, so you have to have in a digital ID essentially. So you need to have a digital ID to get the digital coupon.
So you have to have a phone, or
assumably, yeah.
So only if you have enough money to have a phone, like if you're of enough wealth status to have a phone, then you can then you can get a cheaper food.
Pretty much, that's what it sounds like.
Not
Well,
just
damn.
cheaper. Not just cheaper. If the supply's down, if you don't have the digital coupon, you don't get one.
Yeah,
It goes to the people with the digital coupon first.
Yeah, that's
From the way it
and if you
sounded.
have the digital ID,
And there's
so
a
you
lot
have to
less
have the
people with phones
and
probably.
digital coupon. I don't know. Let's see how many people have a smartphone in Iran.
Not as many as here.
They give them away for free here.
What if the internet goes out? Then I guess they don't get.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue too. So 62.9% of people have smartphones in Iran. So more than half of the population.
Yeah.
And then China's number 1, India's number 2, the US is number 3.
We're number 3 and everything.
The population over there is a lot bigger than here too.
I mean, Iran's in the top.
Okay, so
As of 2020, they were in the top 10.
So
for
this is good
smartphones.
news for Apple, and if you
Yeah, I
want
mean-
your coupons,
You know that Apple has partnered up with some states to make a driver's license on the Apple. So your Apple
So you can
wallet will
just
have all the
scan your-
IDs. Yeah. Yeah. So Apple's getting in this business too. I'll pull it up.
Tesla's next with the Neuralink.
Yeah, the Neuralink. So right here.
Meanwhile, some people don't have actual photo IDs to vote.
Well, in Georgia, they just had the largest voter turnout in history after implementing their voter ID law, I believe. Right here, it says Apple announces first states signed up to adopt driver license and state IDs in Apple Wallet. Arizona, Connecticut, Georgia, Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Oklahoma, and Utah are among the first states to bring state IDs and driver license in wallet to their residents.
Yeah, and if you get a new ID when you buy a new phone, you get a discount.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to be. Looks like Iran is sort of a testing ground for what's to come.
Leading the front.
Ukraine is in a lot of ways as well. So, yeah, that's what's going on with that. It's pretty interesting.
So I found something about that digital ID.
Mm-hmm.
And it says here, according to the UID, the application's initial sign-up process includes obtaining a national activation code and taking a 5 to 15 second selfie video. The selfie is then ran through UID's liveness detection algorithm, which promises accuracy higher than 95%. Once liveness has been established, the application checks the selfie against the user's original ID image registered with the Iran Civil Registration Organization. After the initial sign-up, users' digital ID data is stored on their Android or iOS device using some kind of encryption.
I wonder if they're trying to combat people like just because there is such a shortage that they want to make sure everybody has some, so they're trying to like track people's IDs to make sure.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm sure that's what they're trying to say.
Well, there's also this too. So with the Apple creating the driver's license, state IDs, all that, you have this in Iran going on. Most people are unaware of this news that came out early this year. So the IRS will start using facial recognition this summer, and you'll have to send off a selfie if you want to pay your taxes online. So it says the IRS will require users of its online portal to create an ID.me account for summer 2022. ID.me is a digital identification company that requires selfies from users for facial recognition. It has landed numerous contracts with U.S. state governments over the course of the pandemic. And so, yeah, they're going to be requiring this. So we're seeing this buildup for digital IDs. This ties into what you were saying, how the government's going to use crypto because they're going to set up a social credit system on the blockchain with these digital IDs, with your digital wallet, which will have your central bank digital currency on there. And it'll also be probably negative interest rates. So they disincentivize savings. So they always have an inflationary period because inflation is good for the lenders. And we know that I want to say the word, but I might get banned. The people who wear small hats and they're a tribe. Jays.
Yeah.
The Jays. The Jays love inflation. Not all of them, obviously. And I'm not that retarded when it comes to conspiracy theories, guys. I'm not saying Jays run the world. But a lot of them are in financial power positions, lending out money. So, yeah, this is very interesting. And, digital transformation. That's what we're living through, the digital transformation. It's going to be a good thing, going to be a bad thing in some ways. I think it can be very empowering. For instance, if you want to start your own little, as I mentioned earlier in the show, your own little city state, I think cryptocurrency allows you to have the economic framework to create your own currency.
Have your own currency.
Right?
It's kind of like how the paper money started off. Each city had its own little currency.
Exactly.
You know, I feel like if you're able to make your own currency in crypto, you should be allowed to do it physically. You know, I know the government says it's illegal or whatever, but I don't understand why they say that crypto is legal, but you can't make your own physical currency.
Yeah, which is a really good point that you raised, because let's say you do want to start these city states. There's actually Richard Hart, who's the founder of Hex, Pulse Chain, Pulse X. He's talking about making his own nation state. That's on his agenda of things to do, apparently. And it's quite interesting, because how are you going to be able to have a successful nation state? Let's say in the U.S., right? Let's say you want to make your own little city state in the U.S. Well, it's illegal to make your own physical money. But then you also have a national security threat in your little city state, whatever it is, a city state threat of the internet going down if you don't have physical cash. That's also that's a really good point. Like, how are they're going to have to change the laws, which I think the laws will be changed to sort of cater.
So the government's going to make change the law to where you can make your own money.
Well, they kind of already are allowing that de facto. You can already make your own money with cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But, you kind of have to allow it on a physical level if you really want to grow it at scale, because
maybe that'll be the tipping point. Maybe whenever it comes to that, it's time to cross that bridge, they'll be like, oh, maybe crypto is a threat to the dollar.
But then it'll be too late. And also, is it really a threat to the dollar? Because it allows them, I think, I've made the argument before, I could be wrong, I'm not an economist, I think it allows them to print more money to fuel the metaverse economy. Because then the metaverse can be worth trillions of dollars, and then you have digital assets, you have these things that can just pop up in infinity, right?
It all comes back to the dollar right now anyway.
Right. And
I mean, is crypto really a threat to the dollar when everybody just is buying crypto to get more dollars?
I think so, because I hold more in crypto than I do in dollars.
Yeah, but the reason why you're doing that is because you want to get a whole bunch of dollars.
No, I mean, that's short-term thinking. Long-term thinking is...
So in the short term, you want to get a whole bunch of dollars for your crypto so that you can buy shit, right?
Short-term, yes, but long-term, the vision, the goal is that these currencies, at least 1-2 of them, replace what the dollar is doing.
Yeah. So then in the future... You know,
which is why I think it's more important, in my opinion, to own more hex. Your amount of hex that you own is more important than the dollars that you own. The amount of Bitcoin you own, if you're a Bitcoiner, is more important than the amount of dollars you own. Because in the future, I think it's going to be more valuable. Right now, it's not. And I think that the trading value, the trading power of that is going to be more powerful as well, if you wanted to get into whatever nation currency has been developed through your central banks. I think you're going to have much more trading power going in and out these currencies than actually having physical dollars. But I think physical dollars are very important, because if the internet goes down, if there's a power grid outage, there's a power outage, you're screwed. You're screwed. There's ways that you can, if you're very autistic and very intelligent, you can trade cryptocurrencies without the internet. You can do that. Yeah. But most people aren't going to do that. I certainly wouldn't do that because I'm not, A, that autistic, and B, that smart.
You're talking about like if you had like a hard drive and...
No, like you can do it like over ham radio.
Oh, really?
There's a bunch of ways. It's actually pretty interesting. You got to go just ain't for me. Just ain't for me, and it ain't for most people. So if the internet goes down,
like
power
a Game
goes
Boy,
out.
like you used to hook up the Game Boys together. Could be something like that. You just trade your crypto.
Yeah, I mean, you could do something with the USB, I'm sure, but yeah, there's something that you can do. I looked into it a little bit because I was like, what if the power really goes out? And I read this interesting article that you can use radios, you can use railways.
Railways.
Well, what about solar power?
Crypto on the rail.
What are we worried about the power going out with solar power?
But there's no
We
sun.
have to take.
What if we
Where the hell
destroy
is the sun going to go?
Bill Gates says that he wants to diminish the amount of sunlight we get.
Yeah, Bill Gates wants to do a lot of crazy shit.
Well, I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, okay, that's what I was looking up. Send crypto through railways. I have to do this.
I think like most people haven't heard of crypto until like 2 years ago. So it's just now getting started. I mean, I know it's been around for a while, but it wasn't really popular. It wasn't in the mainstream media or nothing.
Right.
Nowadays,
Oh, it's still not. Is there an ETF now, or a couple? Isn't there like 2 ETFs for Bitcoin
There might
right
be.
now?
Let's look it up. Bitcoin ETF.
We're gonna have to cap it soon, though.
Yeah. I don't see anything. There might be.
Well, a lot of people just don't want to invest in it because it's too confusing for them, and
Yeah.
well, then you have the gas fees too, so it kind of limits what you can buy.
That's a huge problem. The gas fees. But yeah, so I mean that's pretty much all that we were going to cover today. Be back here next Sunday, 12 p.m. And also, I forgot to put in the link in this time, but you guys can trust me. I'm putting in my personal Cash App because I don't have a business account set up for MOT Media quite yet, because I like to wait to start businesses until they become profitable. I mean, we've made some money off of TikTok, so technically we are profit, but it's not much. Anyway, Cash App Luis Acevedo 27. That's LuisAcevedo 27. All of the proceeds from that go towards MOT, merchandise, future things that we're going to do, make the show better, and just helps us do what we're doing here, because it does take a lot of time to do some research, to do some thinking on these particular topics, and keep you guys up to date. So yeah, thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah.
Gotta say one more thing. Happy birthday to Mick's youngest kid, Mason. Today's his second birthday.
Well, it's actually his first birthday. Yes,
No.
last Sunday or
Was it?
last Monday.
Why
But
not
we're
screw
having
all
his
that
party today. We're having his party today.
up? Hey, he's only one.
Yeah, he's only one.
Oh, see, I got confused because last time I was over there, he was actually up walking around. So
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
walking.
it's kind of crazy that
Early
he,
bloomer.
yeah. So
Nice.
that's what got me confused.
Y'all have a good night, good day, and we'll see you for episode 21 next Sunday.
Peace.
Peace.